I wanted to walk through the procedure for Wet Lab 2 to help you out and make sure that you understand what the written procedure means. So for Wet Lab 2, we're going to look at chemical and physical changes. There's a list of materials that you want to make sure that you have prior to the beginning of the lab. So we're looking at chemical and physical changes. Remember, a physical change is where the molecules remain the same before and after something is done to them. So we're not changing how the bonds within the molecule are attached to each other. The molecule stays the same. If it's a chemical change will break bonds, rearrange bonds, and reform bonds into new bonds. So there are a list of things that you're looking for that kind of signal whether or not a chemical change has occurred. Okay, so these include things like the production of gas, if we get a precipitate that wasn't present, or a solid that forms that wasn't present before, if light or heat is produced or absorbed, and if we see color change that happens. Those are some things that can signal a chemical change. So for the procedure, we do want to make sure that we're measuring liquids carefully in our graduated cylinder. Remember, we read from the bottom of the meniscus, which is that curved, the curve that we see in the liquid when we pour it into our graduated cylinder. And we do want to make sure that we're not forming or having any contamination throughout the course of the lab. So you do want to make sure you rinse your equipment quite well between different parts of this lab. Okay, I do want you to take a selfie with your goggles on, or put a note card with your name on it next to your goggles to include that in your report form, so that I know that you are wearing your goggles. I'm putting mine on right now. So the very first part of the lab, we're going to look at vinegar and baking soda. And so we do want to weigh out using our balance. I'm going to turn it on, make sure that it says 0 once it turns on. And we want to weigh out 2 grams of baking soda. So we're going to put the cup on, and this cup has a mass, but we're not worried about what the mass of the cup is. So we're going to press the tare, or maybe your balance says 0, and that resets the balance to not include the mass of the cup. Okay. Now we can take and add about 2 grams of our baking soda. So if you have a spoon, you can use a spoon and slowly add the baking soda until we have about 2 grams. And the exact mass, so approximately 2 grams. If it's a little more, that's okay. If it's a little less, that's all right. We're just going to record the exact mass on the report form. Oop. So it's okay, I have a little extra, but that's fine. Okay, so you want to record the mass that you've weighed out. And there is a place to record that mass at the back of our procedure. There's a report form, and it has places for you to record the information that you need throughout the course of the lab. Okay. We also want to measure out our vinegar into our graduated cylinder. We want to measure out about 15 milliliters. And again, if it's not exactly 15 milliliters, that's okay, but you do want to get what the reading is. So you do want to record your reading. We're going to use the thermometer to measure the temperature of that vinegar. So just stick your thermometer in, make sure you read the temperature that the thermometer says, and then using your paper towel, You can rinse off with water and then make sure that you dry your thermometer so that there isn't any vinegar on it when you add that thermometer into the baking soda. So we're going to put the thermometer in, and then you're going to add the vinegar into the baking soda, and you want to record what your observations are. You're also going to record the temperature that happens, and make sure you feel the cup, see if it feels warm or cool once you do that addition. Okay. You'll take a picture of that reaction and decide if a physical or chemical change has occurred. For part 2, we're going to take a small piece of aluminum foil and form it into a little tray that is going to hold some ice. So you can fold it up so that it has some sides. And we want it to fit onto our balance. So just making a little tray that we can put our ice into. We can weigh that little tray on our scale, and again, because we're not really interested in what the tray weighs, we can tare it, and then you can add your ice cubes to it. See what the weight of the ice cubes are. Record that weight. Set your tray off to the side. Wait for those ice cubes to melt. Okay. Once they are melted, you can put the tray and the melted ice cubes back on and see what the mass is. And again, you can take a picture of that and determine if it's a physical or chemical change. Part C, we're going to look at baking soda and water. So we're going to take 15 milliliters of water in our graduated cylinder. You do want to record the volume of your water. We are going to weigh out in the same way that we did before, 2 grams of baking soda. So tearing our balance, putting the cup on, weighing out 2 grams. We're going to measure the temperature of the water in our graduated cylinder before we add it. Okay. And then make sure that we clean off our thermometer and put the thermometer into the baking soda, and then pour the water into the baking soda, stirring it up, watching it, seeing what happens over the course of about a minute. See if there's anything, what you record for a temperature, if there's a temperature change, record your observations. Okay, and again, we're going to take a picture of each one of these experiments, each part of the experiment. Okay. Next, part D, we're looking at aluminum foil. So we're going to take 2 pieces of aluminum foil. Okay. One so that we can keep it as a control, and one so that we can see if any changes occur. We're going to add water into 25 milliliters of water into our cup. Add a piece of aluminum foil to the cup. Okay, let it sit for 2 to 5 minutes. Take it out, rinse, dry it. Compare it to the original aluminum foil, see if any changes have occurred. Okay, then we're going to do the same thing except now instead of water, we're going to add 25 milliliters of vinegar into our aluminum foil, and also 1.5 grams of table salt. So the salt can weigh out on your balance. Add that in the vinegar. Let it stand 2 to 5 minutes. Okay. Rinse the foil off. Dry it and compare it to the original aluminum foil to see if anything has changed. Again, take a picture. Okay. Right. The last experiment that we're going to do is very similar to what we did with the aluminum foil, but now we're looking at pennies. So you want to get 2 pennies that look pretty close to each other so that we have a comparison. We're going to add penny into a container, add some water, wait 2 to 5 minutes. Okay. Empty the water and see if anything has changed. And again, we're using water to help us decide which part is if there is a change, which substance is causing the change. Then we add the penny back into our cup. We add 25 milliliters of vinegar, 1.5 grams of salt, wait 2 to 5 minutes. See if anything happens. Again, take the penny out, rinse it and dry it, and compare it back to the original penny. Okay. Once you have finished that, there's a question to answer, identifying physical or chemical changes you see in the world around you. Okay. And then you'll be completing a PowerPoint slide with the pictures and the measurements that you took, including the selfie with the goggles. If at any point you have any questions as to how to carry out this experiment, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm happy to help out. Thank you.